Hi, I am Aroon. My teammate Lokesh and myself choose a very familiar topic for our RS2 project. As the topic itself is familiar, the solution for problem are also quite a few. So, the topic of our project is security in cloud computing. When speaking about cloud computing and its security, we must understand what a cloud computing is and what security has to do with the cloud. Cloud computing is use of computing resources which can be both hardware and software that are delivered as a service over a network. So, the cloud computing means the sharing of the common resources. Now, there are a couple of questions arises. What are those common resources and between whom they can be shared? Well, these include the service provider, the customer, and the users in general. But nowadays, apart from these groups, there is also the role of third party that are security providers. These people are the one that work from the customer side to help the users to establish security for the cloud. And this method is mostly preferred by some customer who tend to make their IT department hassle free from the security attacks. So, what's difference between other cloud computing projects and our project? Here is the answer for that question. Now, if you consider most of the cloud computing projects, they do not consider the possibility of the involvement of third party security. So, we have considered their possible involvement in the operation of the cloud, and therefore we have designed a new framework which will help in making the cloud more secure as compared to the previous versions. Now, let's talk about security vulnerabilities involved in the cloud environment. Few of the examples of vulnerabilities that are included in cloud computing are support for various mobile devices of the users in the cloud, changes in the operating environment for the cloud, and most of the various levels of attacks in terms of advanced technologies. So, to overcome all these vulnerabilities, cloud services must be capable to provide confidentiality, integrity, availability, privacy, trust, audit, and compliance in the cloud. Let's go through these terms in a real quick. Confidentiality. Confidentiality refers that only authorized users or systems have the permission and ability to access protected data in the cloud. Integrity. Integrity means that assets or the data of the organizations can only be modified by authorized parties, or it can be modified in an authorized way. Integrity is also associated with the data, software, as well as hardware. The next term, availability. Availability is one of the most critical security requirement in cloud computing. Availability of resources refers to the on-demand accessibility of cloud services to authorize user at all the times and at any place. The next term, privacy. Privacy is a desire of a person to control the disclosure of personal information. The trust was used in the process of convincing observer that a system was correct and secure. Now, the rest of the part of the presentation will be covered by my friend and he will discuss about the framework that we have developed. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Aroon. Hi, I'm Lokesh, and I'm going to continue from where my friend has left. Now to the last of the service that the cloud has to provide, that is the auditing. Auditing is the process of reviewing and examining the authentication and authorization records. How do we examine that? by comparing it to the compliance standards established. By this, we will be able to detect any security breaches. We saw some security issues and then what cloud services has to provide in general. Now, how do we solve these security issues? By introducing security protocols at various levels. Levels? What are these levels now? Service provider level, customer level, third party level, and the user level. So, meaning introduction of protocols at more than one place. This may actually lead to trust issues between the various above mentioned groups. So, we prefer to a framework that will help in realizing a secure cloud. This is the new framework that we have come up with. To just understand it better, we will continue with the presentation. We can see the various levels and what each level has to offer in terms of security. Difference between other frameworks and our framework. Introduction of third party level in between the customer and the service provider. This helps in making the third party security provider work with the service provider itself. Who can this third party be? It can be either a group affiliated with the service provider or an expert organization for this sole purpose. The impact of this introduction is that the environment becomes more secure, but there is no difference in the service itself. How? Because the third party security provider works in the background until an issue arises. Now we will explain some of the terms in this framework that we have come up with. For the first, we will explain what is identity security. Identity security is one that works at the security provider level. This helps in identity management of all those involved in the day-to-day running of the cloud. The next term is the infrastructure security. Infrastructure security is also at the service provider level. Infrastructure security must make sure that the infrastructure itself is very secure, no matter what kind of service the cloud has to offer. It can be either an SaaS or a PaaS or an IaaS. The next one is the hypervisor security. As the name itself suggests, the hypervisor security involves itself in having a secure hypervisor which runs the virtual machines. The next one is the third party security. Third party security is to make sure that the third party side has a secure environment. The next term is the access security. Access security is at the customer level. This is the security that is established at the customer level to make sure that the customer and all the users of the cloud itself are secure. Next one is the monitor security. The monitor security is similar to that of the access security and to that of the identity security. It's just that it is at the level of the third party security. This makes sure that the personnel at the third party are trusted and are the authorized people for accessing the cloud. Next one is the application security. It is slightly different from the conventional technique. It is that because the service provider and the third party service provider work together, but the third party security provider works as a low level access group. So that concludes our explanation of the architecture itself. Now, if we establish this framework, what we get is a more secure cloud computing environment. So, how did we achieve this? Well, we did it with the help of all the theoretical knowledge and the practical feedback and concerns of various groups involved in the cloud environment given to the current service providers in the real world. These data we collected from the service providers websites, and then we came up with this framework. At the last we have the references, and now we have more references, and that's it. Thank you.